Welcome to Horror Year, where every story is a journey into the unknown. If you're brave enough to face your darkest fears and uncover the most chilling tales, you've come to the right place. So, dim the lights, turn up the volume, and subscribe to Horror Year. Your journey into terror begins now. Jake didn't think ghosts existed. He was used to working the graveyard shift and took solace in the strange quiet of the night. He considered the cemetery to be his domain, where he was unafraid of shadows, and the wind was just another whisper among the trees. However, something felt off tonight. Jake was spending his final night before retiring. He had observed a wide range of things during his decades-long patrol of the property, from boisterous youngsters breaking in to weird, unexplained occurrences. However, nothing ever really alarmed him, thus far. The moon was not very bright as the evening started, so the tombstones were covered in lengthy shadows. Jake walked past the well-known headstones while holding a burning cigarette. The wind seemed to be carrying a gentle, barely heard voice that was disconcerting enough to cause him to pause, and the chill in the air seemed more intense than usual. "Who is present?" With a steady yet uneasy edge to his voice, Jake let out a call, not a reply. He carried on with his rounds, but the murmurs came next. With each stride, faint voices appeared to glide closer and closer to the edge of hearing. He could not grasp the words. They were just spooky whispers that crept into his consciousness like a chilling breeze. The muttering got louder as he got closer to the oldest section of the cemetery, where the headstones were mossy and worn. That's the part Jake stayed away from. There was always something off about it, like the air was thicker and more difficult to breathe. However, his curiosity overcame him tonight. The murmurs ceased to be whispers. Voices were heard. They were also addressing him by name. "Jake, Jake, Jake." He stopped. He looked around, his heart hammering in his chest. Nobody was present. Just the old grave markers, standing as silent witnesses. Abruptly, a dim illumination emerged from behind a neighboring crypt. It flared like a candle and covered the ground with lengthy shadows. Jake approached it despite his better judgment. He noticed it as he rounded the corner, an ancient cracked lantern with a flickering flame. However, it wasn't that gave him a shiver. There was a figure sitting close to the lantern, stooped over with its back to him. With its head bowed, the person wore a ragged cloak. "Hi!" Jake yelled. "Why are you in this place?" The figure stayed still. Jake's instinct begged him to escape, to get out, but he was set in his ways. Slowly, the figure began to turn. Its cowl concealed its face, yet something about it seemed off. It felt as though reality was twisting the air around it. The hood slipped back as the figure raised its head. Jake felt his blood freeze. His own face was staring back at him. It was dead and pallid, with sunken, hollow eyes. His mouth opened, but the same unsettling whispers gushed out in place of speech. "Jake, now is the moment." The earth underneath him moved abruptly. Something was stirring beneath the soil in the graves surrounding him, causing them to quake. Skeletal hands were reaching out of the ground, clawing for Jake as he staggered back, breathing in short breaths. As he turned to flee, he was met with louder and more persistent murmurs surrounding him. "Jake, stay here." With the tombstones bending and twisting, the cemetery appeared to be closing in on him, ensnaring him in their icy grasp. He tried to yell, but the wind carried his voice away. His own lifeless visage was the last thing he saw as the darkness engulfed him, grinning at him from beyond the grave. Jake's retirement was never achieved. The cops discovered his body in the cemetery the following morning, frozen in a state of pure horror. His heart had just stopped. Although the official cause of death was declared as natural, those who worked the graveyard shift after him had different ideas. The whispers were audible to them as well. And that brings us to the end of today's delightful story. I really hope it had you on the edge of your seat. If you liked this story, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit that like button. It means a lot to me. And if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. There's always an exciting surprise waiting just around the corner, and you won't want to miss it. Do you have a spooky story to share or a fun idea for our next tale? Feel free to share in the comments below. I'm really curious to know what gives you the creeps the most. And as always, take care, keep exploring. And remember, sometimes the most chilling tales are the ones left untold. Catch you in the next one, if you're up for it.